Most NASCAR fans have a favorite driver, or at least somebody that they lean towards. And for those of us who have been to races and cheered for our drivers and the rush that we get when we see them take the lead, it's just unique to NASCAR. But what happens when your guy's up front, gunning for the win? What if they could close the deal and win? Well, that's what I was blessed to learn in 2012. That's what I'd like to share with you guys today. And with my all-time favorite driver in Dale Earnhardt Jr. being nominated for the NASCAR Hall of Fame, I figured that now more than ever would be the perfect time to release this video. I had been a fan of Jr. since 2005, and I was in an Earnhardt-centric household. Our rooting interests were always in the Earnhardt family, but for 7-year-old me, it was difficult as he was in the midst of a slump. Fast forward to 2006 and it's completely different. Junior's up front more, a title contender, and I got the chance to go to my first race in person at Michigan. My dad surprised me with tickets for he and I to go on Father's Day together. Funny enough, that day that he surprised me, Junior won at Richmond. The race itself at Michigan was a good one, but unfortunately it ended early due to rain, and 8-year-old me was left walking back to the car in tears next to my father. I'll probably talk about that race more in the future. Contrast that to 2007 though, where it was in the mid-90s and burning hot. Rain was hardly a thought. This race was another that my dad and I went to, but this time my mother was with us for the first time. It was her first race, and the experience got her hooked on the sport. To this day, she can even correct me on different info and facts about NASCAR. How many other people can say that about their mom? That would be the last Michigan race that I would go to until 2011, which was really a shame because the first year we didn't go, well...
76 races since he last went to victory lane, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the winner at Michigan.
That's incredible.
Hop on up to 2011, and it's been 3 years since that win. But for the first time since then, Junior is a week-to-week threat to win in 2011, and he was sitting third in points going into the race. It didn't end up any better, though, than the last 3 years, and most really just remember it for this soundbite more than anything.
I try really hard to take care of people, try not to be careless, and I don't like putting up with carelessness, and that just really pissed me off what happened out there. So,
Thanks, Junior.
At least we got to see Montoya get spun in front of us, I guess. And now with that, we now go ahead to 2012. The year leading up to this Michigan race was a tough one for me personally. In February, I had gotten injured in a basketball game, a broken leg and a broken ankle and a broken foot, as well as a dislocation of that said broken ankle at the same time. For anyone who's had even a single broken bone, you know the long and tough process of healing and how painful it is. So 14-year-old me got to watch the 2012 Daytona 500 in a cast with an elevated foot. Luckily, I got a good amount of relief every week from Junior, as he was stronger in 2012 than he was in 2011. By the 13th race of the season, he was third in points again, and in a tight race for the lead of the points with Greg Biffle and Matt Kenseth. And at Pocono, it looked like he was going to snap his winless streak merely a week before the 4-year anniversary. But alas, he didn't. And all trains, once again, led to Michigan. The funny thing is, until Thursday of that week, I actually wasn't planning on going to the race. My mom had said, though, that she had a feeling, and when she does, it's usually a good one. She had a feeling that Junior'd do well, and gave me the option to go, and I took it. Well, I was happy, even if I did have to pay for both tickets. So Sunday rolls around, I get up at 4 a.m. and spring out of bed. I was insanely excited. Anyone who knows me knows that I am not a morning person. But either way, I was ready to go, and I'm going to a NASCAR race. It was awesome. We make it there about an hour before the race, find our seats, and it rains. People forget that this race was delayed over 2 hours from rain. We huddled under the stands by a closed souvenir stand, barely avoiding the flooding water near us. Hours later, though, when everything dried, the race finally began. Dale Jr. rolled off 17th and then immediately dropped like a rock. After waiting through the rain delay, his Dark Knight Rises machine was slow as hell. But with the aid of an early caution, the 88 came down pit road they made adjustments, and he would roll out 38th. In the 35 laps that followed, the black 88 car would make it all the way up to just outside of the top 10. One by one, Junior was picking him up and putting him down. After the competition caution, he would only continue to shoot up the charts. By lap 70, he was in the lead. In my mind, there was hope. Could this be the day? But after the caution came out, his main foe of the day would emerge. Defending champion, Tony Stewart. Stewart would beat Junior on the restart and take the lead. Earnhardt fell in second. So halfway through, it was the 14 versus the 88. But the dark night was rising, closing in on smoke. Finally, on lap 105, the lead once again changed. It was pretty clear. My guy had the edge. Around this time, I remember a family next to me leaving. The parents and oldest son were Kyle Busch fans, and with Rowdy dropping out of the race, they did too. And that's unfortunate, as their youngest son was a Dale Jr. fan. Kid, if you're out there, if you remember, I'm sorry, bud. Now, the middle of the race became a bit of a caution fest. Wrecks would take out guys like Casey Kane, Joey Logano, David Gilliland, and Denny Hamlin. The latter of those four had a bit of a scary moment as he was going down pit road with his car on fire. Once it all calmed down, though, the two dominant cars pulled away. About half a second separated the two, Junior leading Stewart. The rest of the field was having issues with tires all day thanks to the repave. Those two, though, weren't. With less than 40 to go, both of them went down in the pits. With how much clean air mattered, this could be the race. Leaving the pits, though, the two left the way they came in. The 88 in front of the 14, the crowd cheering to it. After everything cycled out, Earnhardt regained the lead with 30 laps to go. And for the first time all day, the black 88 pulled away from the red 14. With 20 to go, the stands around me became almost like a bit of a wave. Fans cheered and stood every time Junior drove by. That was until 10 to go. This is where it hit me and probably plenty of others, because if there weren't cars there, you could have heard a pin drop. It hit me. This could be it. Junior could win for the first time since 2008, and I was there to see it. While people around me began to stand, I literally couldn't. I was so nervous. I would look up and then get too nervous and bury my head back between my legs. I couldn't believe it. Could it be real? The laps just kept ticking down, but they were agonizingly slow. I kept looking up and down over and over again. With 3 to go, some of the less experienced Junior fans began to cheer. The more battle-hardened followers like myself knew, though, that anything short of a lightning strike on this sunny day was possible. 2 to go. More were standing and cheering. I couldn't bear to look. White flag. Most were cheering. 2 miles away. As he streaked down the long backstretch, I peeked up. Entering 3, it was real. All the disappointment, all the second-place finishes, all of the pain of the last 4 years was all worth it. As he exited 4, I jumped up screaming for joy. The crowd was so loud, 82,000 strong, that I didn't even hear the Batmobile Impala fly by. He crossed the line. I broke down. After 4 years of disappointment, 5 months of recovery from broken bones, 2 hours of a rain delay, and 200 laps worth of racing, he had finally won, and I was there. I couldn't believe it. A dream had come true. Tears did run down my face, maybe 1 or 2 or 50. My mom basically had to pick me up off of my seat so I could watch his victory burn out. The crowd was absolutely delirious at that point. In his interview, he thanked the fans for sticking by him and through it all. We, once again, all went nuts. Both of us stayed for about an hour after the finish. I just had to soak it in. The shadows of the grandstands were enveloping the freshly repaved track, and we knew we had to go. As we left, 95% of the crowd were Junior fans. Every 30 seconds or so, someone would yell, "Junior!" And everyone leaving the track would cheer, except for maybe 1 or 2 Stewart fans you'd see. But you know what? You got the championship. We get at least 1 race. This repeated for about 15 minutes as we walked back to our car. People were just sitting there smoking cigars, having beers with each other. It was a collective sense of euphoria. Everything was right in the world. Dale Jr. had won again. We got home at about 2 in the morning. My dad was still up, watching the rerun of the race. He had recorded it, so what did I do? Well, he and I watched it from the beginning, the entire thing. I can say this. Today, 8 years to the day of this race, I have never experienced anything like this. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So to Dale Jr., if you, for some reason, ever see this, I want to say thank you. This was one of the best days of my life. I got to spend it with my mother, and I'm forever grateful for all of this. With that, I want to hear from all of you now watching. Where were you on this day that Junior won? Were you watching? Were you maybe even cheering? Let me know down in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content as well. And also, be sure tonight to watch the NASCAR Weekly podcast on my channel. At 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to be interviewing NASCAR President Steve Phelps, so if you want your voice heard to him, be there. Until then, have a good one.